Alright, in this video I want to show you how you can make a few changes to this particular model that you can get over from Sketchfab. I'm an East Carolina pirate, so obviously I was intrigued by this pirate ship. But when you download this model and you import it into MO2, some things don't quite look right. So I want to show you a few changes, and maybe you can apply some of these changes to other models that you're having trouble importing. Now before we dive into this tutorial, I encourage you to check out this video over at MotionVFX's YouTube channel. Learn to import 3D models to MO2. I'll go over some of the basics here, but that video does cover quite a bit of information in a lot of detail there, so I encourage you to check that out. Now over at sketchfab.com, I search for Tiki pirate ship. There's that model. And this is what we're going to try to make it look like when we import it into MO2, but there's going to be some things that don't quite look right. You have a download link, and I will leave the attribution in a pinned comment below. And for this download, I have found that GLTF works pretty doggone good every single time. However, there are some models that when I import them into MO2, there's a lot of changes that have to go on. But for this particular model, there's just a few minor changes we need to make. So go ahead and download that GLTF. And when you do that, you're going to get a zip file, unzip that, and ultimately we're going to import this GLTF into MO2. So I have MO2 already loaded up, and we can go to Add, Model, and I'm going to go to From Library. And then in my imported category, I already have that model imported into my library, but just to recap real quick, you'll click on Import, you'll navigate to that unzipped folder, and then we'll import that GLTF. You can name it whatever you like, choose the category where you want to save it in, and import materials. I have found that Legacy works just fine. You can alter the size of this pirate ship or any model that you import, but I'm just going to close out of this since I already have it imported. So with that model, I'm going to go ahead and add it to my scene. Now with this model imported into MO2, it's a very big model. This is a pirate ship here, and it looks like we're a little high, our camera, so to speak. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to take this camera, I'm going to reset its parameters. Now it looks like we're even higher up because it's dark up here, but we're going to fix all that right here in a second. Go ahead and create a null, drop my camera into the null. And I put the camera inside of the null so that we can do some quick rotations and quick movements. I've mentioned that in several tutorials up until this point. But I'm going to select that pirate ship, and a quick way to maybe get the pirate ship somewhat centered in our scene, since we do have the null and the default camera centered, I'm going to go to its anchor point for the pirate ship, and I'm going to go to Set Center. This will change the position of the Y, and without me changing the position Z or any of this stuff in the anchor point, if I just go ahead and set this to 0 for the position Y, this is going to somewhat center that pirate ship in the middle of our scene. Now I'm going to select my default camera. I'm going to drag on out far enough to where I can get a good view of pretty much the whole scene. Now I'm going to select my pirate ship again. I'm going to drag it on up so that we can get closer to the water's surface. And what you see down here is just that globe effect of the entire pirate ship scene. If I take that camera, drag it on out even further, you can see that it's kind of like inside of a globe, so to speak. I don't know the technical name there, but there you have it. So we can see the water, and we can see these what look like rafts floating around, but I don't remember any rafts showing up on the model in Sketchfab. As a matter of fact, when we go back to this model in Sketchfab, we don't see any rafts, but what appears to be the rafts in our scene in MO2 are actually these water ripples. We have one right there. We have some, right here and here, maybe some little fish swimming around or something like that. But we're not seeing that in MO2. And something else that you'll notice here on this model is that the water has some transparency to it. And we also notice now this model inside of MO2 does look darker. We can fix that with an ambient light. We can take our camera and maybe adjust the bloom or something, but let's focus on the water first of all. So just going to select the water, and this appears to be selected correctly because if we look over here, this material that was imported is called Ship Water Light. I'm going to select that material, and I'm just going to back off of the opacity down here in the opacity channel, drag on down a little bit, and that's looking a little bit better. It may not look identical to what we see in Sketchfab, but that already looks better. We can see some slight color changes in the water, so I'm cool with that. Now, I'll tell you what I want to do. Since I'm on my active camera, I'm just going to take this bloom and bump it on up to brighten up the scene. But again, we could come back up to our scene content, and we could add an ambient light. And we can take that ambient light and bump its intensity up as well. Obviously here I'd want to go back to my bloom and lower that. So that looks a little bit better. Now let's focus on these rafts because they're not rafts. And notice if I select the rafts, it's actually selecting the sails. Now if I move my mouse, you're going to see it deselect it, so to speak. But you know, up here, these sails and the pirate flags up here, they're all linked to the same material. So I have those selected, and if I scroll through all of my content, it's under Ship Sails 0. I want to select that material, and this is that texture that came with the GLTF file. The sails base color. Now I'm going to point this out to you right here in a second, but what I want you to notice is that we do see the flags, we see some water ripples, and I guess these are the fish, and then we have the pirate flag. Now look at all this solid black in this image. What we want to do is we want to take all of this solid black in this image and we want to cut it out. And this is referred to my knowledge, as the alpha cutout that we're going to use in MO2. Now the pirate flag is not going to be affected because I'm assuming there's a little bit of gray inside of here too. You can see some slight color differences, but we want to cut out all of the black around here, and we also want to be able to see through these holes in our sails. As a matter of fact, the rafts that you see in MO2 right now are actually just the black squares that are around these images right here. So to do that quickly in MO2, I have that material selected, and as a matter of fact, I want you to notice the albedo channel has the base color.png, the sails base color.png. And since we did import these textures and whatnot into MO2, this is saved in our MO2 library. But I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to scroll down here to the bottom for opacity again. I'm going to select the opacity mode to alpha cutout, and we want to cut out the black parts of that image. As a matter of fact, it was our albedo image. So if we go to use albedo alpha, if I check that, watch this. Now those rafts are gone. As a matter of fact, where this fishing line is going into the water, we can see the ripple inside of there. And you can actually adjust the threshold. So fine tune that to your liking. Somewhere maybe around, probably around 0.5 was perfect, to be quite honest with you. As a matter of fact, if we set this back up to 1, maybe you did or did not notice, but setting this up to 1 does make those sails completely disappear, as well as the ripple effect. So again, 0.5 looked pretty good. Now let's give it a quick survey. I'm going to go back up to my knoll where my camera is sitting inside of, and I'm just going to rotate the position Y around my scene to see those other spots. And here were 2 more spots where we had those rafts right there and right there. I guess we can see a little bit of the ripple effect and whatnot. And then just rotating around our scene some more. This is the front of the ship that you could actually see on the MO2 intro video. And just to show you that effect one more time, if I go to the ship sails, select that material, and if I come down here and uncheck that use albedo alpha, it's going to bring those rafts right back. But by us checking this, it does cut out that black from that PNG image that I showed you a moment ago. And something else to notice up here too is that we can see through the sails, those black holes that are in the sails. If I rotate the knoll some more, adjusting its Y, you can see how we can see the clouds and whatnot in the background, and even like right here you can see the flagpole right there through that hole, rotating this around. And there you have it. That's 2 quick changes to the Tiki pirate ship over at Sketchfab. We adjusted the opacity of the water, as well as using the albedo alpha to cut out these black squares so that we could see the ripples in the water. And that's it for this video. I hope it helped.